We have a major update. The Knicks are planning another move. New York just announced that they released multiple players. One of those players being Landry Shamet. With the season just a few days away, New York needs to finalize this roster. And according to reports, they could be looking to sign another veteran to add to this team. And that player could be Marcus Morris Sr. We're going to break down all of these latest reports and so much more today. But before we get started, guys, about 60% of you watching this video right now are not subscribed. We are on the road to 20,000 subscribers, and we could really use your support. If you like content like this and you enjoy daily Knick updates, please consider hitting that subscribe button because it really does support all the great content that we're creating for you. And now, let's get started. The Knicks waive Landry Shamet. It's unfortunate for Shamet because he was a lock to make this roster if he was healthy. But we recently learned that Shamet dislocated his shoulder. Because of that injury, it's likely going to put him out for a number of months. I'm sure the Knicks didn't want to release him, but after getting that injury update, they had no choice. They need to make sure they finalize this roster and they have players on this team that are available in case somebody else goes out or is injured. Shamet, unfortunately, after that injury, didn't fit the criteria anymore to be part of this roster. And because of that, the Knicks waived him. Shout out to Shams for giving us the following updates. According to him, the New York Knicks are waiving Landry Shamet. Sources tell him and Bobby Marks. Shamet had a strong preseason, averaging 10.8 points per game. Knicks will likely maintain a roster at 12 standard players and look to bring Shamet back once he recovers from his dislocated shoulder. There is still no timetable yet on when Shamet is actually going to come back from that shoulder dislocation. Shout out to Bobby Marks for giving us the following information. According to him, New York is allowed to have fewer than 14 players on their roster, but for no more than 28 total days during the regular season and 14 consecutive days at a time. They are currently at 3.5 million below the second apron, and the Knicks want to stay that way. If they go over the second apron, that's when the penalties kick in, and that's where they don't want to be. Shout out to Ian Bagley, an NBA insider with SNY, for giving us the following information. He states, because Landry Shamet was on an Exhibit 9 deal, the Knicks owe him $15,000 of his $2.08 million salary after waiving him. Shamet's salary reduces by $15,000 per day, so New York can re-sign him at a lower number during the season and create more room under the second apron if they choose to go that route. ESPN was the first to report on New York waiving Shamet. The good news here for Shamet is that it sounds like once he recovers, once he gets healthy, there is going to be a spot for him on this roster. Now, I don't know how the Knicks are going to do that. Maybe what they do is they sign a player, and then when Shamet is ready and available, they waive that player and they bring back Shamet on this team. Clearly, if he was healthy, he was going to have a significant role off the bench for New York this season. With Dante DiVincenzo being traded to Minnesota, the Knicks needed somebody else off the bench who could shoot. And Shamet gives you size, but he also gives you that shooting ability as well, too. He had good chemistry with that bench unit. I am sure that when he is healthy, he is coming back to New York. But in the meantime, as we just heard from Shams, New York has no problem having 12 players rostered on this team until they can bring somebody else on this roster. But if Shamet's going to miss a couple of months, New York cannot keep doing this cycle of having 12 players on this team for 14 consecutive days at a time. It's just going to be too much of a hassle. They're going to need to bring somebody else in. And here's the thing. If they only release Shamet, I wouldn't think another major move is coming. But that's not all that New York did. They released multiple players after they released Shamet. According to Knicks PR, New York released Chuma Okeke, Landry Shamet, and TJ Warren. Shout out to Ian Bagley for giving us the following update here as well, too. With Landry Shamet's situation up in the air, New York didn't have cap space under the second apron for TJ Warren. Warren had support among New York coaches and the front office to make the roster. He is going to join Westchester, SNY has learned, and he's likely going to be in the mix to rejoin the Knicks during the season. After losing Landry Shamet, the best next option to add to this team, in my opinion, was TJ Warren. But unfortunately for New York, they could not afford him and still be under the second apron. So because of that, they had to waive him. With all of these moves, we know another move is coming. Another player is being added to this team. And if they can't have TJ, there was another player the Knicks were linked to a couple of days ago. And they've been linked to this player really all offseason long. He was part of the team, and then he was waived because we had to make room for Karl Anthony Towns. We offered him a training camp deal again, but he rejected it because he was not going to get playing time on this team. That was then. Now, with Shamet being out, all the injuries that we have and we're suffering from, there is an opportunity on this team. And according to reports, New York could look to fill that opportunity with Marcus Morris Sr., who now could have a prominent role on this roster and could be part of a championship team. And that's really all that Marcus Morris wanted in the first place, to have a role and to be part of a team that was going to go all the way, potentially to win a championship. Now that opportunity exists for him. Shout out to Ian Bagley of SNY for giving us the following information. With Shamet out long-term, New York would likely look to sign another veteran player for that 14th roster spot. Before Shamet's injury, there was some internal support for adding Marcus Morris Sr. New York signed Morris Sr. to an Exhibit 10 deal prior to training camp. They had to waive Morris to execute the Towns trade. Morris Sr. then declined the training camp invite from the Knicks. Even after he declined that camp offer, some with the club viewed Morris Sr. as a strong depth piece and a potential in-season addition. You can understand why the Knicks have support for Morris Sr. He used to be a Knick. He's tough. He's physical inside. He gives you that vet presence in the locker room. A lot of positives for adding Morris to this team. But in my opinion, he's 35. Even though he can shoot the three ball really well, that was a couple of years ago. I have no idea how he can shoot the three ball now at this stage of his career. In my opinion, there are other players out there right now that are available that the Knicks should go after and add to this team over Marcus Morris. And that's no knock to Morris. It's just because, again, he is aging in this league. And as you age, you do not get better. I understand why a lot of Knicks fans want him. I think a lot of the main reason for that is a nostalgia factor. They remember him from the past Knicks days, and they want him a part of this team. And while I can understand that, there are better options available, better shooters available, and they have size. And if you add them to this team, they could potentially make a bigger impact, a bigger difference for the bench than Marcus Morris ever could. And I'm talking about two players specifically, Lonnie Walker IV and Matt Ryan. With Walker IV, he was just waived by the Boston Celtics. He averaged 7.3 points in 16.4 minutes per game in the Celtics preseason. Now listen, he's 6'4". He can shoot the ball extremely well. Landry Shamet, he was 6'5". He can shoot the ball extremely well. It's not a perfect fit, and obviously the defense of Walker is not the same as Landry Shamet. There's a definite fall off there. He still gives you that shooting. He still gives you that size. And off the bench, if he's playing 10 to 15 minutes, you can't go wrong with that. He still gives you the shooting that you need with that bench unit. He's still going to help stretch out the floor and make defenders go near him. And that's going to make the paint more open and easier for your drivers. You need players like that. That's why I would prefer Lonnie Walker over Marcus Morris Sr. Another player I would prefer over Marcus Morris Sr. would be Matt Ryan, a native New Yorker. He's 6'6". He shoots the ball at the three-point line at 45.1%. He was recently released by New Orleans. And in my opinion, the only reason they released him is because they have a number of forwards already on their team. But this kid can shoot the ball extremely well. I don't know about his defense. It might be a little bit shaky. But under Tom Thibodeau, it would improve. But the shooting is already there. And if you're concerned about shooting and you lose Shamet and you see Matt Ryan available at 6'6", you can't go wrong with either of these options. Lonnie Walker or Matt Ryan. Either of these options are a better impact for this team than Marcus Morris because of the way they shoot the ball. Matt Ryan especially. 45.1% from three. I'll take that any day of the week. And at 6'6", he could be a problem for this New York team. You got to remember, this Knicks team is going to be able to penetrate and create better than most teams in the league. That means the corners are going to be open and the perimeter is going to be open. And for a three-point specialist like Matt Ryan, 45.1% from three. If he's at any one of these places, especially at the corner, he is going to do damage. Those are the type of players that you need in practice. Those are the type of players you need on this roster. And if anybody goes down or you just need some more shooting in this team, adding Matt Ryan is the perfect solution to all of it. I understand the love affair with Marcus Morris Sr. I understand he has a lot of internal support. If we needed more size on this team or we didn't trust our bigs, I would understand it. But right now, after everything I saw during the preseason, I like Towns, I like Huck Porty, and even though I don't like to admit it a lot, I like the rebounding of Jericho Sims. And if Preston Achiuwa is healthy, he can dominate as the backup center for this team. At this point, I'm a little less concerned with the Knicks going after another big, having more size at the backup 5 spot. Right now, we need to replace what Shamet gave us. That size and shooting. Lonnie Walker or Matt Ryan are the perfect replacements for Shamet right now. They're going to be available, and they definitely can help have an impact off this Knicks bench. But clearly, the Knicks are not in a rush. As Shams pointed out, New York is okay going into the season with 12 players on this roster, and they're going to wait and see who becomes available and who else they can add to this team. Remember, they have room to add one more player on the vet minimum, and then they're going to convert one of their rookies, likely Ariel Huck-Porty, on that 2-way contract to a standard NBA deal. And then the Knicks will have 14 NBA players on this team. I don't know when they're going to do that. I think they do that by the time November hits, but you never know. New York could continue to wait until they have more information on Landry Shamet. We still don't have a timetable on when Landry Shamet's going to become available and be ready to return for New York. Until that information becomes available, maybe New York continues to have 12 players on this team. We're going to have to wait and see. But Leon Rose and this Knicks front office has not led us wrong this offseason. They continue to make the right moves each and every time. And I know this time around, they're going to do the exact same thing. Another move is coming. We just have to be patient and let Leon Rose work his magic. Each and every time we do that, the Knicks are better off because of it. But what about you guys? Who do you want to see make this team if it's not Landry Shamet or TJ Warren? Let me know in the comments section below, guys, because honestly, I would love to hear from you. But that's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace.